Hey, hey, it's another beautiful Saturday, and I just want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you are, and you're watching me. I know sometimes, many times I come online to just contribute to the existing knowledge and have a kind of intellectual discourse with people. And in the recent time, or let me just say, we recently concluded the general election in Nigeria, though not perfect, but it's done and dusted. And my opinion is that we will always improve on what we have on ground. Is this the best we can have? I say no. But sometimes someone said, half bread is better than none. We have done it and we have done it. So recently I was just online and I was reading an article. I was reading a news from Israel. That was on Thursday. I was reading the news from Israel and I saw that some people, some guys in the Israeli parliament made a proposal to stop we call it preaching the gospel, but they call it soliciting. So here's the deal. Then I sat down and started thinking about what the problems of Africa has been, especially the Black Africa. What the problem of Black Africa has been. And I was just making some researches and I found that democracy is one of our problems. Religion is one of our problems. I know there have been a lot of arguments condemning what Africa had before we ever had a connection with Europe or whoever they are. There were chiefdoms, kingdoms, towns and villages, and there were different forms of administration. There were different forms of administration. Okay. There were different forms of administration which were very effective. And until British came, Portugal, France, England, Germany, Belgium, until they came, Africa was an effectively governed continent. There were no countries. I say it again. Before Europeans came to Africa, African cities, empires, kingdoms, chiefdoms, towns, villages were effectively governed and managed by culture, by tradition, by the existing religion at that stage, at that age, which were later trashed by our European conquerors, who later became our slave masters and translated to colonial masters. It's going to be a long one, but I just want every one of us to, if you're watching this after I've concluded this, please just contribute. Democracy in Africa, I'll use Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Mali, Burkina Faso, Congo DR, Rwanda. I'll use those places as examples. And I will ask a question. Has democracy succeeded on the African soil since it was brought to us? Remember the fact that I said earlier, it's a known fact that kingdoms and chiefdoms were raised, built, and administered by local intelligence and political skills. But when we were conquered as a people, everything that was functioning was replaced. I say it again, everything that was functioning was replaced. The marriage system was replaced. The religious system was replaced. The system of administration was replaced by everything that was deliberately built not to succeed. Democracy in Africa will never be better than this. Maybe, let me just, with an exception, maybe when everyone who has tasted democracy so far dies, and there's a new generation with none of us in existence then it may succeed. I say this again, I've said it over times, that democracy was not built for Africa. Then they told us democracy is the best form of government. By who? Democracy, I said let's take a democracy as the first thing. Democracy is the best form of government. I beg to disagree. Why? Because a woman who has never lived in two marriages, or a man who has never lived in two marriages, will not know which one is better. America is a proponent of democracy. Why? That's fine. Why has America not succeeded in pushing democracy down the throat of United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia? Why has the seat of the king or the queen of England preserved? But our own kings in Nigeria, the biggest kings in Nigeria, are subject to local government decisions. But in England, the queen, the king, is a signatory to the very major decisions. But our own kings became boys for local government chairmen. Fine. They replaced it. I say it again. They replaced it with things that are meant never to succeed on our soil. They know democracy will not succeed, and they gave it to us. America has never practiced any other form of government apart from democracy since the beginning. They wrote their constitution. They have always elected their leaders. Then, because it's working for them, and they think it will work for all men, forgetting we are different people. Kingdoms and chiefdoms, kings and empires, with the assistance of their chiefs and advisors, succeeded greatly in Africa. Talk about different kings, Alaafin Oyo, Oba of Benin, the kings of Mali, the kings of Songhai Empire, the kings of Empire of Ghana, the Dahomey kings and warriors. There were effective leadership in Africa, Black Africa, before democracy came. And now, America has a population of over 300 million, and I'll say with over 180 million eligible voters, you will not hear a single gunshot during the election period. That is working for them, because that's a practice they have always known from their very inception. Africa has practiced kingdoms and empires and towns and rulership for more than 10,000 years before you introduced democracy, and you forced it. Now let me tell you why. You must be a democratic nation in Africa so you can always get support from the West. If you don't, you will not. The rich, the poor will always be a subject to the decision of the rich. Either comfortable or uncomfortable, you must take it. Either comfortable or uncomfortable, you must take it, because you are not poor. A poor man, the Bible says that there is this poor guy whose intelligence would have saved a whole nation. But because he was poor, nobody listened to him. A poor man is never listened to, no matter how big his wisdom, huge his wisdom is. no matter how big his intelligence is, a poor man does not. The Bible even says that even the family of a poor man avoid him. Africa is not a poor continent, but we are poor people because we have continually been managed or continuously been managed by the most satanic of us. Democracy in Africa, I say it again, will be a mirage, if that is correct. Democracy in Africa will be a farce, will be a comedy show. Democracy in Africa is not, I'm not prophesying, I am saying what I have seen so far. Tell me which African nation, when I say African, I mean black African, because you see, the North Africa, they have their own specifics. They still maintain their kingdoms, their kings rather, because they're mostly Arabs. And they are being properly managed. I asked the question earlier, when will the United States and Britain and France, there's a king in Spain, very popular. There's a king in Monaco in France, very popular. There's a king in Belgium, very popular. There's a king in Portugal, very popular. They still respect them till date. But our own kings have been reduced to going to the airport to welcome Prince Charles of England, our biggest kings. Deliberately, back in the days, Africans don't vote. Back in the days, I say it again, Africans don't vote. When a king dies, it is the spiritual duty of the gods to provide them the next leader. And it was working effectively. It was very effective. Ask about the empires of Benin, ask about Mali, ask about Oyo, ask about wherever. The style of leadership, the style of administration that we had, we inherited, that we built as Africa and Africans, worked until we were conquered. And our religion became animism, became barbaric. And our kings became stooges and errand boys to politicians. And our traditional leaders lost their place. Whoever opposed the kind of administration, democratic administration, so to say, that was introduced to Africa became an enemy of the state, and they must be killed, exterminated, excommunicated, banished, deported to where it doesn't know. I say this again. Some things were deliberately introduced to Africa, black man, black Africa, so that black man in Africa will never succeed. I read something. I made a post this morning and I deleted it because I knew it was going to become a little bit of religious stuff. So I deleted it. Somebody said Israel is the seat of Christianity. I beg to disagree with that. Israelis are not Christians. They practice Judaism. Why has America or Britain or Rome not forced Christianity on them? And to the extent that some of them stood up and, wrote a bill to prohibit the preaching of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Because to them, Jesus was one of their boys. Jesus grew up among them. But before Jesus was born, there were ways that everyone was accessing God, and it was working. Jesus Christ did not preach gospel to Ondo State, Ondo Town. Jesus preached gospel to Bethlehem, to Nazareth, he didn't even preach to Rome. Like I said, it was deliberately planted in Africa, I can give you a key to a Lamborghini. If you don't know how to operate it, it won't work. If it works, you end up crashing it and killing yourself. That's what democracy is doing to us. America has never practiced military rule, has never practiced monarchical system, has never practiced theocratic rule. They have only practiced the process of people going out to elect who should be their next leader. And in Africa and Nigeria and black men, we have our own spiritual consultation that we do to the gods to select our next leader for us. There could be 20. The priest, or diviners, will make researches and will tell you, this one will be a good king, but he will not live long. This one will be a good king. There will be problem during his tenure, but during his reign rather, but he's going to balance the ship again. This one is not going to be a good king at all. This one is not going to be a good leader at all. This one is going to be a very good leader who will have a long life. But the diviners will tell you the strength. It's like doing a SWOT analysis. They'll tell you the strength, the weakness, the prospects, and the opportunities of each of the candidates. Strength, weakness, threats, and opportunities. SWOT. They will do SWOT analysis of each of the candidates, each of the people presented. And they will. But they made it look so barbaric and uninteresting to us that even for you to wear around buba, thank God that we are becoming very deliberate now as Nigerians and Ghanaians. I've seen that a lot in Ghanaians. We're not trying to wear yellow pant and green shirt anymore. We now wear our traditional wears because we know that even people that we want to be like, they want to be like us, but we are not smart enough to know that. They know that the best way to keep Africa down is to give them foreign aids. And for you to get foreign aids, you must embrace democracy. So your government doesn't have to work. Just keep having to rely on the IMF, World Bank, so foundation to give them money to treat polio, to campaign for HIV, instead of making researches to treat HIV. They are giving out free medications. They are giving you condoms to reduce childbirth. Meanwhile, their 38-year-old in America is already a grandmother. But you are 44, you are not married. You say economy is bad. Africa, we are still on a very long nail. Until we stand up. Until we stand up and fight. And if there is going to be a democracy in Africa, it has to be a democracy built for Africa. Not a democracy photocopied, a copy and paste democracy from Britain or from the US. On African soil, it has to be a democracy that will be built, an all-encompassing democratic system that will be written deliberately for Africa. Not an American type of democracy that is copied and pasted on the African soil. It will not survive. You put a stick on ground and you put a goat in water. Exactly. And you will now keep trying to revive the goat, but the fish is dead. The fish is dead. If there's going to be anything called democracy, you have to be deliberate. And that's the people Africa. Not the kind of democracy working in Africa. I asked myself one day, as a Christian, how does it feel that I cannot tolerate other people's opinion as a Christian? I cannot tolerate other religions. Other religions they cannot tolerate me. Christians cannot tolerate Muslims. Muslims cannot tolerate Christians. And I ask the question, apart from building schools, in any case, there have been schools before Christianity came to Nigeria. There have been learning and teaching before Christianity came to Africa. There have been learning and teaching before Islam came to Africa. So let's understand that. There have been palace records, written and text. There have been history transmitted to the family. If you want to know how intelligent your great-grandfather is, go and look at your grandfather. Let your grandfather give you a record, accurate record of what happened. Where was that? How? What his father taught him. What do you know about the language? What was your great-grandfather doing? I don't know. I know my grandfather. I know my grandfather. I know my grandfather. I keep making videos of all the people studying Fortran. People are already talking about artificial intelligence. People talking about Fortran, talking about computer application. And the 3-year-old already has access to iPad. When the 3-year-old that is Siri was the weather in Nigeria. Siri was the weather going to be in 2 days' time. You look, you feel love. You feel tune up. Jesus Christ. Provide money for you. Jesus Christ is not the banker. It's not the bank. Jesus is not the central bank. It's not. All these miracle money things. You will pray for miracle money. Have you found it? When the Bible even expressly tells, I don't know who wrote that part, but I would bless the work of God. Not the prayer of blessing. I just want us to think about all this. Now, not trying to force. This is just our opinion. Sometimes I sit back and I get sad when I look at how things are going, and I know that this is not how it should be. This is how it should be. But because I'm a poor guy, nobody listens. Who my friends say that it's all about. But they listen to idiots who are richer than me. They listen to idiots. They call idiots that because they are richer than me. They're not intelligent. You see men, when it comes to democratic setting of politics in Nigeria, you will see a man who calls somebody a murderer with evidence yesterday. Will come say the thing. He has never committed anything. Same man. That's the kind of democracy democracy without faith. Democracy without a structure. Democracy without philosophy. That's what we practice as black men, as black Africans. That's what we practice. Democracy without structure. Like I said, and I will always maintain this on the democracy is not for everyone. It could be working in Nigeria, it could be working in the United States, but that does not guarantee that it will not be in Africa. The best form of government for Nigeria is to go back to our king. Let the king administer. Kings administer
administer your village, administer your empire, administer your. They did and it was working. It worked. They had their own sects of officers too. They had the people who make decisions with them. They do the market square meeting, they do the town hall meeting. Town halls did not start when colonial system came in. They have been meetings. There have been meetings where the town crier will come out with the bell and ring it and tell them, oh, it was a tradition in the Black African society. It was also, they know how to agitate, they know how to arrest criminals, they know how to investigate. They know. I have maintained this, and it is still effective and efficient till tomorrow. If properly used, some God never mistaken an innocent person now. Some God was never a God. They call him God because they wanted to destroy that system. So those who were against it, you think it's not? If I say this now, you think it's not? It's not what? Why do you, as a Christian, why do you still consult Babalawo? Why, if it's not effective, why do you consult Babalawo? If it's not working, why do you consult Babalawo? Because I don't have any problem. I have never prayed that anybody to give you that situation. I have never prayed. But you know it's not working. Why do you have iota on your body? Or why do you have it if it's not working? One of my lecturers said, exploiters and extortionists under the guise of mission civilization. Exploiters and extortionists under the guise of the civilizing mission. God bless our battle. That was in my head. Exploiters and extortionists under the guise of a civilizing mission. What's going to civilize them? They are not civilized. They don't have democracy. They don't have a stock exchange. They don't have churches. They don't have temples. But we have shrines. We have shrines. They don't have pastors. They don't have governors. But we had our kings and we had Babalawo, who were providing real spiritual guidance to the community.